See it played. Advanced Tobruk System ATS. Busting the Bocage. Americans and Germans in Normandy. Using the ATS Basic Game 2 rules. Okay, in the Normandy countryside here, we have some Americans, bar gunner, NCO leader, a couple of squads, 3 squads, light machine gun, and they're going to advance through the hedgerows here on the village here, where we have a couple of German defenders right now with light machine gun and NCO to start with. So the ATS Basic Game number 2, the turn sequence goes like this. First is the fire and movement segment. We do initiative roll. Germans roll 6, they have the initiative. Player with the initiative gets to go first or second. The Germans will wait, so they will pass, and so the Americans have the initiative. So during the fire and movement phase, players alternately use impulses to perform following actions in any desired order: direct fire, and mortar indirect fire. So we will be bringing in some mortars here on both sides. So we will start, as a matter of fact. We'll take this mortar, give it a crew, a 238 crew, and we'll put the mortar in this manor, open area in front of the manor there. Okay, there's also assault movement and assault fire. There's cross-country movement for vehicles. Yes, we will be bringing in vehicles. On the American side, we'll be bringing in M4A1s. Let's hold off on that for a minute. And on the German side, we'll be bringing in actually a mixture of vehicles, but I guess most well-known, a Panzer IIIL. So AFVs on both sides we will be getting to. We have running movement, crawling movement, and assault fire. And then enemies use opportunity fire at moving units and those that pivot, vehicles that pivot. All of this makes up the fire and movement phase. So players alternately use impulses. So the Americans are going to start moving forward. What we're going to look at is going to move the machine gun up first. So here, actually, so I want to use assault movement. Yeah, let's just say assault movement. What's involved here is a squad, 767 squad, with an M1919 light machine gun with a that has one, or on the counter it has one carrying point. We want to move it so forward, so we're talking about moving over this. You can clearly see that it has a green hedgerow on top of a brown base, so we're looking for that type of terrain. Going to go through the orchard, through the hedge, but no brown base, and try to get as far as we can to that orchard hex right there. So consider terrain, movement allowance. What is handy is that the Basic Game 2 comes with its own 2-sided cardstock sheet of tables just for the Basic Game 2, although they're pretty close to the full rules. But I will be also using the terrain table and rules from the full game. Okay. So using the personnel movement table, I want to use assault movement, so that gives them total movement points of 4. You add 1 movement point if moving with a leader. Leader is not moving with that squad. Movement arrow In ATS, we have our standard movement arrows. Behind. Assault fire, yes, although it's not going to have a target yet. Carry weapon, light and medium. So that's good. That's the movement arrow. Okay, so it has a movement allowance of 4. The brown hex side with the green hedge on top of it is Bocage terrain. Bocage terrain is 2 plus cost of terrain, so to move into the orchard is 1 movement point. To cross the Bocage hex side is 2. 2 plus cost of terrain of the hex it's moving in, so it spends 3 to move over the Bocage hex side and into the orchard there. We wanted it to get to 012 there, hex 012. That orchard would be 1 movement point again. Crossing just the hedge hex side is 1 plus cost of terrain. So it would be 2 more to go into this orchard hex, crossing the hedge hex side, which would be 5, which would be more than its allowance using assault movement. So it can't get there. Before we leave this unit, let's ask the question, what does carrying a light machine gun do at all? Now, I don't think that, my guess is it shouldn't do anything under these, well, so far in the game. But let's see what the basic game 2 rules say. So first, carrying the machine gun. A unit can carry may carry a number of light and medium weapons equal to its stacking point value. Its stacking point value being the number of figures on the counter, on the side of the counter, 3 on the front side, 2 on the back side. So, full strength squad. The picture's 3 figures. This is its stacking point value 3, so it can carry up to 3 carrying points of light and medium machine guns. So again, the light machine gun M1919 is worth 1 carrying point, so it could carry just as an example, it could carry, that same squad could also carry the M1917 medium machine gun, which is worth 3 carrying points. So 2 carrying points plus 1 carrying point equals 3 carrying points, which does not exceed the stacking value of the squad in question there. Okay, so the American Impulse is done. Now it's the German Impulse. Before the Germans pass, I'm going to go ahead and give them a light mortar in another squad, a 545 squad. So mortars are on board indirect fire weapons and are either light or medium. The German GRW 36 is a light mortar, LMTR. Light and medium mortars have a 360-degree field of fire. Fire type. Mortar fire by onboard units is considered indirect fire, but is conducted during the fire movement segment. Mortars use the HPT and place bot or burst on target markers. HPT, or hit probability table. So the German mortar there is a 50D. So it uses the D line, different range spans there, cumulative hit probability table DRMs, and when they get a hit, they place a burst on target or bot marker like that, which enables them to have a -3 and 2 times remaining rate of fire after that bot marker is placed on the target. Okay, to finish off the mortars, when attacking vehicles, refer to the table CT, or it's C2. It's this one, mortar attacks versus vehicles and heavy weapons table. After making a roll in the casualty table following each hit obtained on the HPT, hit probability table. Fire and burst on target restrictions. Mortars may not fire from inside buildings, except from roofless hexes. Bot markers placed by mortars may never be moved to follow a target. And finally, minimum and maximum range. Mortars have a minimum and maximum range as indicated on their counter. So the German mortar here has a minimum range of 2 and a maximum range of 11. They may not fire at targets beyond their maximum range or less than their minimum. I added them into the open area behind the village there from the Germans' perspective, and then the German player passes and we'll go to the American impulse. Okay, American impulse. American side is going to move this squad here, declare assault movement, although if you don't declare it, the default movement type is assault movement. They'll go 1 and they're going to go 2. Now, at this point, we have that moving American squad behind the Bocage, and we have these Germans here behind Bocage on their side. So, question is, can the Germans see the Americans moving? And if they can see, they'll go ahead and do opportunity fire. So, only terrain in the firing hex and target hex, which would include hex sides, does not block line of sight. So the Germans can see the Americans moving there on the other side of the Bocage, and so they're going to fire. For them, they're being directed by the NCO leader there, the 117 leader. So the entire combat routine, this is direct fire because it is a unit using small arms on the casualty table. That one right there on the casualty table. Okay, small arms refers to the values for gunfire factors. So gunfire factors on the left, 6 and a 1 range, in the center 5 and 1. So the sergeant is directing the fire and providing a DRM, but not actually firing and contributing that gunfire factor. So it's 6 for this stack, 6 gunfire factors out to a range of 5 hexes. So that's printed on the personnel units. We also have light machine guns, medium machine guns, and anti-tank rifles. Many vehicles are also equipped with machine guns and have gunfire factors or gunfire values printed on their counters. For example, so the American M4A1 has gunfire factors on the lower right there, 5 and 3. Okay, skip over guns. So direct fire attackers. We established that the Germans have line of sight. The Germans are not broken. They've not moved except by crawling or assault move. They're not F-killed and not already marked as fired and used up its entire rate of fire. Just real quick, rate of fire. The rate of fire of the MG42 on the right is 3. It's the black number. The black number in the blue box there in the center right of the MG42, the 3 is its rate of fire. So it conducts up to 3 5 gunfire factor attacks out to range 8. The squad on the left does not have that blue box, so it has a default 1 rate of fire or 1 attack for the turn. Okay, so direct fire targets. Here it's obviously a personnel unit. The attack routine itself for small arms, the range is 1, 2, 3. Determine gunfire factors of each attacking unit. Again, this German squad is a 6. Modify by condition. There are no modifications to the gunfire factors. Use the cover states. Cover state effects table. The cover state for the American squad is assault. So DRM of -1. Then we go right down the list. Actually, the Bocage, firing through the Bocage is going to give it some cover as well. So the Bocage provides improved cover, so that's +2, so now we're up to +1. And then down to NCO directed, so we're even, and it's even. So use cover state to determine applicable DRMs. We're even, determine the final column used, so 6, and there is a 6 column. Gunfire factors, 6 right there, so this is the column we're using. Roll the die, 10-sided die, 3. Germans roll a 3. On the 6 column is a C2. Apply casualties to personnel units in the target hex, followed by the required morale check. So C2, actually C2 is going to reduce it to its half squad side. So the reduced American squad there has a morale of 7. That's the number on the far right. So again, that's gunfire factors of 6 out to a range of 5 and a morale of 7. So we're going to conduct a morale check. The unit took a C2 result, so that's going to be DRM to the morale roll. So we're going to add 2. There is a morale table, but none of it applies. This is each 3 stacking point personnel unit, each AFV, Commissar, Officer NCO, enemy units, and casualty markers. So none of these apply. The squad is out there on its own. So it rolls a 6, which would normally pass, but we have to add 2 for the C2 result. So it fails its morale check and is broken. And so just to clarify, the moving units that broke cannot move any further this turn, so I put a movement arrow behind them for their assault movement, and the German firers are marked with a single fired marker. So it's the American segment, or impulse, and they want to begin flanking German position there. So the sergeant here with the bar gunner and squad, they're going to move assault movement, but they get an extra movement point, so it's 4 + 1 for the leader moving with them. So they're going to go and go 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 over the Bocage. So 5, movement arrow behind them, and actually, so the German MG42 there in the stone building going to attempt opportunity fire, so we check line of sight first. And it actually goes right through there. That's 7 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 hexes away, which is beyond the German squad's range of 5, but it's not beyond the range of the MG42, which has a rate of fire of 3 and a range of 8. So the Germans are going to fire MG42 on the moving Americans there. Low rolls are good, so the Germans rolled a very good one. That is adjusted -1 for the Americans' assault movement, but +2 for the improved cover of the Bocage there. So it's a +1, so it's a final 2. The machine gun has a gunfire factor of 5. The highest column without exceeding that gunfire factor is 4, so it's resolved on the 4 column. So 2, modified die roll of 2 at or on the 4 column is a C2 result. So C2, this stack has to take a C2 result, and then the resulting morale check. So in basic game 2, targets in the same cover state, it's the owning player's choice to distribute casualties. So left to right, our leader, NCO leader, our bar gunner, and our squad, we have 2 casualties to assess. So actually the American squad is so high morale, has such a high morale of 9. I'm going to assess both casualties against it. So now it has a 7 morale. So now we're going to do morale checks for the stack. Remember, this is a DRM +2 for the C2 result. So the order has to be leaders, officers first, then NCOs, then remaining units at the owning player's discretion for the order of morale checks. But now that the squad is not a 3 stacking point unit, we don't have any modifiers yet. So we start with the NCO leader. He has a morale of 7. None of these apply. It's not a 3-point personnel unit anymore. AFEs, leaders, etc., etc. So it's just a 7. So he passes fine. 3 + 2 for the C2 result is a 5. So the NCO is good. Now the NCO is going to add +1 for the remaining units. So the bar gunner has a morale of 9, +1 for the NCO is at 10. 5 + 2 for the C2 result 7, so the bar gunner is okay as well. Now we have the reduced squad, current morale of 7, +1 for the NCO is 8. Oh, and rolls at 10. +2 for the C2 result. Okay, that was a natural 10, which is a failure, except we roll again, and we roll an 8. So we don't get courage, so the squad is simply broken. And finally, only the machine gun, German machine gun, has used one of its rate of fire. So the squad still has its gunfire factors, personnel weapons, and 2 rates of fire. Rate of fire remain on the light machine gun there. So we'll say both sides pass. We end the fire and movement segment. We move on to the second segment in the basic game 2, and that's close assault. Again, each side rolls initiative in the same way as before. Germans win again, rolling lower. And so they'll go first. The close assault segment includes an infiltration phase and a melee phase. So each side will take Opportunity to move into adjacent hexes, including those enemy occupied. Germans are going to infiltrate forward into the stone building there on the other side of the stone wall there. These Americans infiltrate forward. Okay. All non-broken personnel units, even those marked with movement arrows and F markers, may use infiltration. So they're going to infiltrate forward one, like that. And then, so they cannot infiltrate, but the American mortars back there can. So okay, done with all infiltration. Then we have a close assault or melee phase. There is no melee, obviously, and then we go to the third segment, the end of turn segment. So we remove melee and overrun markers. We remove moved arrows and F markers. All other markers remain, for example, broken. Then we have, so that's the first, first part of the end of turn segment. Second part of the end of turn segment is both players perform the following rally actions. Attempt to rally broken personnel units in the same hex as a leader. So this one does not have a leader, so they cannot attempt to rally, but this one of course does. They're still with their NCO leader over there, so they are going to try to rally. So the broken American squad's adjusted morale is 7 + 1 for the leader, which is 8. And they roll a 3 to rally, so they succeed. Then we would roll to remove suppression or suppress markers. Don't have any of that right now. And then we move the game turn marker to the next box on the turn record track, and get ready to start the next turn.